Welcome, Aries, to your Uranus Cazimi 1 year forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. On May the 22nd, for the first time in 78 years, the sun in the fleet footed Gemini applies in an exact conjunction to Uranus. A Kazimi is when the sun's magnificence and radiance amplifies the other player. It gives Uranus an opportunity to really echo out its strengths. I'm going to share the event chart from a purely Aries viewpoint, including taking a look at all the other planetary influences, but particularly your ruler Mars. And by the end of the video, Aries, you'll have a clear understanding of what's upcoming in terms of your energy, work, relationships and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen, Aries, is the event chart, and there's the sun and Uranus at 1 degrees and 30. So the first thing is they're in the first 2.5 degrees of the sign of Gemini, the first door, the 12th harmonic, and that brings an even greater Gemini richness to the situation, very much to do with quick wits, fast communications, but also engaging with technology and fresh approaches. But Mercury, the ruler of the sign of Gemini, is at home on this event, which is particularly significant. And although we know that Uranus can be a very restless, rebellious, and disruptive influence in some ways, what I feel Mercury does in its link to Saturn, the planet that anchors us, is an exact sextile. So if we are trying to do something fresh, it's kind of saying to us that we need to slow down and make sure we do the planning in a very detailed way. But if we are embracing the purely logical side of life, which is what air energy is about, and the host of Gemini, it could mean that we're going to overrule our instincts. And one of the things that's really important on this event is to be conscious that Uranus and the Sun are in a T-square with the nodal axis. So the South Node is very much about where routines and habits are comfortable for you, which of course Uranus challenges. And the North Node is very much encouraging you to be in touch with your senses, to trust the process. So even though there may be some dazzling opportunities over the next year, you still have to ask yourself the question, does it feel right? It has to be planned meticulously. Mercury and Saturn will certainly help you to do that. But let's take a look at the role of your ruler Mars. Now, Mars is actually forging a delicious link with Venus, a sextile. So if we're talking about anything to do with foundations and everyday money and our desire, Mars, to improve those areas, being open-minded to fresh approaches and innovations will obviously help us. And Mars is in an exquisite link with Venus, which is very much more to do with nurture in the sign of Cancer. So once more, we're asked to ground and feel just in the way that we are with the nodal axis coming back to these guys as well. And also Saturn, which rules the sign of Capricorn, very earthy, in that grounding sextile to Mercury. But there is an aspect that is really quite testing, and that does include your ruler, and that's linking back to Pluto in a square. So if we think that Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, very much about our higher spiritual purpose in some ways, but because Pluto is the sign of the collective, and Aquarius is very much about how we're all connected, and it can be very futuristic because Uranus rules this sign. I think that is where resistance can show up if things are going too quickly in our lives, if we're not very focused on the details, if we're getting, if you like, almost overwhelmed by the amount of stimulation that we're getting. Mars and Pluto can set up that resistance in the sense that if our future direction doesn't feel completely comfortable or doesn't meet our values, that could show up in some powerful standoffs over the next year. And it could be across all the four areas around your energy, relationships, work, and finances too. But there's no doubting that Venus, in that link, which is the planet of money, to the position of Mars in that second house, if you did want to start to work from home, which has the flexibility to do things when we want, then that could actually work out very well. But there is one thing I wanted to share with you about this event chart that's intriguing compared to what happened in 1948, and it involves Neptune. Now, Neptune is just into your zodiac sign, which is really encouraging you to think again about your personal identity, perhaps even the way you dress. But that's in a square with the position of Venus. So over the next year, even if you met someone who you found to be hugely stimulating and great fun, this angle between Neptune and Venus can see us develop unrealistic expectations, but particularly around romance. And if we go back to 1948, Neptune was in the opposite sign of Libra, but guess what? Was in a square with Venus, which again, like now, in the sign of Cancer. So that was one similarity. Also, that was a time when the United Nations was forged. Of course, that was 1945, but it was a new world order, after the disruption of the Second World War years. And it is intriguing that Jupiter, the planet, which is very much to do with growth and optimism and international affairs, was in your ninth house, very much to do with that area, but in an opposition with these guys. So it was a time of new hope and new beginnings. What we've got this time round is perhaps the imposition of technology, the rate of and pace of change. There may be at times when that really does feel uncomfortable for us. Now, I'm going to summarize those 4 areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances shortly. But just to say, you can download your free Uranus factoid, all about the astronomy, the mythology, and the astrology, including Uranus in each of the 12 zodiac signs and each of the 12 houses. Please see below for more. I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now 3 for the price of 1. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out in our lives so far, but get a more intimate understanding of them and how we can work better with those energies future forwards. The free charts is your 12-month transit forecast, totally unique to each person, but also your draconic soul analysis. So that's 3 for the price of 1. Please see below for more. I've been doing this full-time for 30 years, but I first became interested in astrology when I was 14. I really want to share about natal astrology to as many people as possible. So if you've yet to watch my deep dive of moon magic for May, which goes into each of the 5 lunations of the month, please see that on the screen. If you've yet to watch your monthly general forecast for May, that's on the screen as well. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it would be an absolute pleasure. Please check out my testimonials below. And also, have you taken advantage of my free daily horoscope? Fire to your device each morning, get your early day celestial pit stop for your ascendant, your sun, your moon, whoever you want to read it for. Please see below for more. Now that summary. I feel for you, the pace of life is going to be breathtaking over the next 12 months. It can be hugely exciting for sure. One of the things you need to do is slow things down and be as methodical as possible. Don't get too caught up in all the excitement. But I think it will see you particularly inventive. And when it comes to your professional situation, if you're not really enjoying where you're working, self-employment will be a fabulous option for you over the next year because it will give you the flexibility that can really see you thrive. If you're renovating or improving a property, I think you can add value to your assets through doing that for sure. When it comes to your romantic situation, the moon begins this journey in the sign of Leo, where it's particularly charismatic and very affectionate and warm. I really like that. It's in a sextile to Jupiter, the planet of good fortune. And it is also in a broader but really quite lovely link to Chiron. So maybe in some ways you are being asked to take the initiative if there is someone you're drawn towards. But when it comes to your long term situation around finances, because Mars is in that square with Pluto, if you're not enjoying who you work for, their values don't align with you, or you're talking about some kind of financial opportunity with a friend, I'd go careful. It could end up being a very big standoff over the next 12 months. What about your energy? Well, I mentioned that Chiron's in that lovely link to the position of the moon, but Saturn, which is really asking you over the next 2 years to pace yourself, is saying if you think about things carefully and don't rush, then I think Saturn gives you a chance to make progress around your physical well-being for sure. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Look forward to seeing you again soon, and goodbye for now.